So do you want to go to the golf course next time you play and hit the driver straighter, longer and more consistent? Of course you do. Well, stick around for the next 10 minutes or so because I'm going to run you through my top 5 driver tips. There aren't many golfers out there who wouldn't like to hit this club a little bit better. And when we talk about the driver, better normally means longer, straighter, and with consistency. And if we can do those 3 things, the game becomes so much easier because we get the ball further down there, it's in the short stuff, and the game is much easier when we can do that. But how do you do that? Well, I've got loads of experience coaching golfers just like you who struggle with the driver, and so today I'm going to run you through my 5 best tips that I know can help you get more success with this golf club. Driver tips, 5 of the top ones. Let's start with number 1, and this one is a brilliant one that you can take to the golf course next time you play, and it's going to help those of you out there who feel like you get a little bit tense over the ball, maybe feel like you snatch the club away, maybe you feel like you haven't got great rhythm or timing. This is absolutely brilliant and it's really, really simple. Tip number 1, simply hover the driver. Now this isn't something I would suggest everybody does. It's really only going to help if you're one of those golfers that we've just mentioned. I don't tend to hover the driver, but it's not something I struggle with. But what we often see with the driver is the club sits on the ground. It's very static. The golfer tends to build a lot of tension through the hands and the arms. And we almost see this grip pressure really increase. And the first movement away can be a little bit snatchy, a little bit jerky. And within the first 6 to 8 inches of the golf swing, we've already lost a lot of potential rhythm that we might have had, timing that we might have had. Hovering the driver can fix all of that. And it really is just as simple as that. You would get yourself set up as normal, go through your full routine. And then just before you're about to pull the trigger, you would literally just raise the club off the ground. Now, how much you lift it up isn't that important. It's just a case of taking the weight of the driver in your hands. What you will feel straight away is that your grip pressure will start to reduce. You'll start to soften your hands on the golf club. That starts to feed through to your arms, your shoulders, your chest, your back, and that all starts to relax a little bit more. The other thing you're going to find is that first movement away suddenly becomes a little bit easier, a little bit smoother. And you can also use this as a way to trigger the start of your golf swing. Many of you out there will like to have a little trigger, something that starts your golf swing, and this can be that. So tip number 1, really, really simple to help you with your timing and your tempo and your rhythm is just to hover the driver before you move it away. So there's my driver on the ground. And then just before I'm about to hit it, just hover it a little. And that can significantly help you hit the driver better. Tip number 2, this one is going to help all of you slicers, faders, and those of you who carve the ball way off to the right. It's an ugly shot, it doesn't help, hard to recover from, and you're probably losing far too many golf balls if you do that. This, like the first one, super simple, can help it. And it's all to do with how we actually set ourselves up and where we are relative to the golf ball. Many of you will be aware that when we set up with the driver, we want that ball to be forward in the stance. We can't really get away from that. We have to do that. The ball is teed up. We've got low loft, we have to have it forward in the stance. That, unfortunately, causes lots of issues. We often see the golfer leaning in this direction where the chest gets in front of the hips. From this down the line camera, we often see the golfer getting very open with the shoulders. That setup can really influence the start of the golf swing. We can start to chop across it, slice the club across it. We get really poor ball speeds, we get huge amounts of curve, and it really all starts and stems from that setup. So how do we fix it? Well, this is something we call the Mo Norman drill. So if I took my address to this golf ball, using my upper body, I want to feel like I move the club along the ground. And so it's around about, what's that, a foot and a half behind. Now what does that do? Well, number 1, it starts to get my shoulders to be less open. If anything, they might be a little bit closed as a result of that. It also starts to mean that I move my upper centre a little bit more to the right. It gives me a very good visual for having my swing aimed a little bit more up the right, which, you know, if you're a slicer with a golf ball, is brilliant. That's exactly what we're trying to do, avoid this kind of steep and out to in. The other thing it does is it starts to set the lowest point of your golf swing behind the golf ball. that's perfect for the driver. It's teed up, we want that club to be working upwards. This really helps it. The number of golfers who I've seen on that lesson tee come to me for lessons who are hitting down and across the golf ball and slicing it. This simple setup change, I'm going to say fixes it, but it starts to eradicate a lot of those things that are causing them problems. We start to see the attack angle go more positive. We start to see the club path get a lot straighter. And those two things make it much easier for that golfer and you to hit the fairway more consistently. So the second tip, and this is one certainly for the practice area, but if you find it helps you hit great drives, nothing wrong with doing it on the golf course as well. You can take your address and then using your upper body, just move the club 1.5 foot behind the ball and start your golf swing from there. And that started way up the right. It's turning back around that corner. That is exactly the ball flight that I would expect to hit using that drill. So, slicer, high flight, spinny flight, hitting down on the golf ball, use that drill, it is brilliant. Now tip number 3 is all about creating more speed, which gives you more distance, but also it's going to help you get the ball straighter. That's a pretty good combination. If we can get the ball to go a little bit further and a little bit straighter, something we probably should all do. So this is a tip which is focused on the backswing, it's focused on your lower body, and I call this daylight for distance. What is that little exercise? Well, if I took an address to this golf ball, you probably can't see much of my lead leg from this camera here because my trail leg is obviously in the way. Now, as I start to rotate my hips, you start to be able to see a little bit of my lead leg as my right hip moves back and my left hip moves forward. That changes where my knees and my legs are, and suddenly my left leg starts to become visible to that camera. What I would love you to do with the driver is, and this might be something you need to first of all do in a reflection or a mirror, or even just potentially using your phone to check whether you're doing this, I would like you to create as much turn in your hips, which is going to influence those legs, until you can start to see some daylight between the top of my trail thigh and my lead knee, and hopefully you can see that from that camera angle there. You should be able to see a little bit of daylight between those legs. What we really wouldn't want you to do with the driver is get far too static in the lower body, not enough rotation. Not enough rotation is going to mean one or even two of these things. Either you're going to get very narrow, because when you can't turn, it becomes very difficult to get much width, so you're going to become very narrow. And you might have both of these, the club is going to start to work too much upwards. And when we become narrow and the golf club works upwards in a steep fashion, hard to hit good drives from there. Really difficult to hit good drives from there. Starting to create this daylight between the legs does a couple of things. It adds depth. Depth is how much the hands are moving towards my heels. Such an important thing for you to have if you want to hit the driver a little bit better. But it also facilitates and allows me to rotate my upper body more. When I rotate my upper body more, it allows me to move my hands further, but keeping that width. We know that the further the hands can travel in this direction, the more potential speed you're going to have. Doesn't guarantee anything, you've still got to swing the club down at some speed and hit the ball hard, but it gives you a greater chance. So allowing those hips to turn more, creating daylight for distance, gives you the potential to create more speed and also gives you that depth. When we have that depth, we are far more likely to be able to hit the ball from the inside, which the majority of you will be desperately trying to do. And it also gives you that ability, as we said, to have a much longer hand path, and that allows us to create speed on the way down. The simplest way for you to really do this on the course, like I said a moment ago, you might want to practice this first in front of a reflectional mirror. On the course, it's really just freeing up those hips. Don't be afraid to let them rotate freely and allow the legs to move as a result of that. So, if I was really trying to crank one up on this par 5 and get it right round that corner, I'd be certainly looking to create some daylight between those legs. Tip number 4 is all about building awareness, giving you some feedback and allowing you to hit the centre of the club more often. I can't stress enough how important it is that we work on strike with the driver. The problem we have, the golf clubs these days are incredible. I use the TaylorMade Sim 2. If I hit off centre towards the heel or the toe or even the top of the bottom, the golf club is so well designed, it's so forgiving, I'm still going to get a pretty good result, and I'm not necessarily going to get the feedback that it was a poor strike. The drivers are just so forgiving these days. So if I start to stray towards the heel, let's say, I often do that on the course and I'm not aware of that. So if I'm not aware of it, then I'm not going to apply the right fix. And if I'm not hitting the centre, I'm not tapping into my potential distance. We're only going to get the most amount of distance from the centre of the golf club. It sounds obvious, we know that, but there are so many golfers out there hitting off centre who just aren't aware of it. But you can create some awareness. This is strike spray. Now you can use, can't get the lid off, you can use anything that comes out of a can as a powder. This is perfect, this is designed specifically for golf. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray and put a coating on the driver face. Now, I'm going to hit one shot. I wouldn't advise you hit one shot because one shot isn't a great sample size. I'd love you to spray the club, hit 10 shots, and then look at the pattern. Don't look at one shot because we get outliers. We get the odd bad swing, which we do hit from off centre. We want to look at your pattern. What is your average strike location? Now, I know that for me, I tend to be middle to slightly heel. Let's have a look. Let's see where I can get this from the centre. But suddenly, I'm going to hit shots with more awareness. Every single time I hit a group of 10 shots, I can start to see what my average strike is, and I can start to make adjustments from there. And that was a pretty good drive, but hopefully, if I come a little closer, you'll be able to see that. It wasn't a bad drive, but where is that strike? It's a little bit heel side, it's a little bit lower in the club face. That's my pattern. I predicted that was what would happen. So in practice, I can start to look to fix that. I can start to create some potentially obstacles around the golf ball to try and trend that towards the centre. Or simply, I could just spray the club face again, hit another 10 shots and just have my focus as trying to hit a little bit higher, a little bit more towards the toe. There's no need to go overcomplicated here. If you're hitting towards the heel, just hit 10 shots and try and hit towards high toe. You'll be surprised at how well you can move the strike by just having a different intent over the golf ball. If you have the power to move the strike around the face, that's really what we need to do as a coach, is to give you that ability to change where the ball is hit. If you can change where the ball is hit, you can focus in on the centre. So tip number 4 is to use some sort of strike spray to give you feedback on your strike and trend towards the centre. That is the only place where you're going to get the perfect result. The final tip, and this is the final tip because up to now we've helped you hit the ball straighter, we've helped you hit the ball more consistently. This one is going to give you a little bit of a distance boost, and who doesn't want that? We know that for the majority of golfers out there, the average golfer, the handicap golfer, hitting up on the driver gives you more distance. Hitting down on the ball doesn't necessarily mean you're going to miss fairways, but it means you're not using your full potential. Head cover, bit of practice is all you need to work on this. Take your head cover and place it around about a foot in front of your golf ball. You need to make sure that you're teeing the ball appropriately, getting it really low on the tee. It makes this difficult. And what we're really looking for here is to just hit some shots during practice where the goal is to make the club head move up and over the head cover. If you are that golfer who gets steep into the back of the ball, lots of you out there, I'm afraid, you will hit the golf ball, you might hit the fairway, it might be a good shot, but you're going to clear out that head cover. And obviously if you do that, you get some instant feedback. Practicing with instant feedback is key because we have to do that in order to know each and every time we made a golf swing, was it what we were trying to do or was it not? The great thing with this little exercise is if you're hitting the head cover, I don't want you to try and change things straight away. I just want you to keep working at it. The task is to hit the ball, miss the head cover. If we simply give you that task, eventually you'll figure it out. That's often the best way because it's non-technical. You're not bombarding yourself with swing thoughts. You haven't got so many things in your mind that it becomes difficult to swing the golf club. You're just creating a task and you're using your practice time to work towards achieving that task. So let's see if I can hit a drive where I work the club head up over that head cover. Head cover's in place, ball flight was pretty nice, pretty high. Everything that I did on there and the feedback that I got gives me the confirmation that I did the right thing. For me, I know that I hit 5, 6, 7 degrees up on the driver. So for me, this is an exercise which I find relatively easy. But if you're someone who hits down on the golf ball, that head cover is going to start going 15 yards down the fairway. And it won't take you a few journeys to get it back before you start realizing that you better hit up on it so you don't have to keep getting that head cover back. So that is a drill that I'm guessing you'll have seen before, but it doesn't mean that it is not super valuable to you in terms of your driving. So those are my 5 top driver tips. I really think if you work on those, you're going to see the things that I promised you at the start. More distance, better accuracy, and a more consistent performance with the driver, which is really important when you're out on the golf course. And also make sure you head over and download that free series. It is accessible on my website right now. Thanks for watching. Usual stuff is down below. I'd love to get your thoughts on this video, comments, likes, all that kind of stuff down below. And hopefully, if you enjoyed this video, we'll see you back here again for a future one.